Good morning, friends. Today we are going to have an interview with Professor MA Oommen. MA Oommen is an eminent professor. He's the former chairman of the 4th Finance Commission, State Finance Commission in Kerala, and he had actually worked in different capacity in the government as well as in different walks of life. He was initially joined as the first faculty member in the University of Kerala's newly started department, Economics department, and later he also instrumental to start the new Calicut University Economics department in 70s, and he was the first chairperson of that department. Indeed, that is, he had a lot of other credits also. He was one of the first student in the MA program in university under the University of Travancore, and the first rank holder, and he's also the first doctoral student of the University of Kerala. So he had a lot of accolade in that sense, and as a fellow, as an economist, as a writer, as a social, basically social, critique, etc. He had made his contribution immensely in the social science as well as in the general realm of academics. And basically, he had written a lot about decentralized plan. He also wrote about the Kerala development experience. Then he written extensively on the issues of democracy, etc. And he was a postdoctoral fellow or Rockefeller Foundation and visiting fellow in Yale University. He was also senior Fulbrighter. He was taught in various universities outside the country, such as Botswana University in Botswana and many other places. He also studied in Italy. So he had actually many accolades in his name, and he wrote extensively about 30 books he wrote in the field of economics, largely in English and also in Malayalam, a few books on Malayalam, and his recent autobiography on Orma Padigal, which is also a very interesting insight into the development of the Kerala economy as well as the career of this great teacher of our time. So today we are fortunate to have Professor Oommen, and he agreed to give this interview to us, and I'm very fortunate to interview Professor Oommen. Welcome, Professor Oommen, to this interview.
My choice of economics is an accident, because like St. Berkman's College and their BA course was headed by Professor Rabiyath. So he was very famous at that time, and therefore I thought that I want. It is not that I have any guidance from anyone to choose.
But now you don't feel that
No, I don't feel that I feel any regrets for the choice of the profession.
That's absolutely fine.
But I have viewed the profession and the discipline of economics not from the conventional perspective. I have entirely written and on the way I evolved in my reminiscences. All these stories are
there in the
in that book.
So, yeah, back when we are as a student of economics as well as a teacher in the university, I'm great. I'm actually taking great pride that you are the first person in the department who were appointed in our department. So then you also instrumental to start the new Calicut University Center Economics Department. Back then, from that point to now, what do you feel as a teacher, as a beginner in the field? Start with the teaching.
It was, I don't call it a splendid experience, it was a brand new experience. I walked into a room of principal of University College who was in charge of the coming department. He was a part-time person. He told me, well, we are going to occupy a building near the Senate hall, like on the top of the statistics department. You go there and tell me what all furniture you want, what other things you want. So I went there.
Okay.
With a blank head. I went there. You imagine a young student. Of course, by the time I had gone through the ordeal of teaching in the private as well as in the government colleges, therefore I was having some background. The first thing I went there and asked for, I made an inventory of things and I told him the first thing is that you should buy an almirah for the library.
That's great.
And therefore, not, and of course, a chair and other things. By the time he himself has written a list of furniture and gave it to me, I went there. Ordered with the Paul and Sons of these things. And then started looking into library as well as journals. At that time journals you cannot easily purchase. You have to get sanction from so many quarters if you are buying a new journal. EPW, even EPW is not there at that time by that name. So,
it's called Economic Weekly.
Economic Weekly, it was called Economic Weekly. Eastern Economist was there, Commerce was there. So, I have already started writing. In Commerce, people gave me a column.
Okay.
So, I was writing a column for Commerce. And then, Eastern Economist I used to write. These are all pretty, in a way, not very academic, but current topics in economics. And comments
Popular writing. Popular writer.
Popular sort of writing. So I worked on that. The library was built. And then we have to have a new department, so advertisement and all that. Don't worry about any of these things because the Vice Chancellor at that time was no less a person than Dr. John. He took interest in promoting a study on Kerala economy. Nowhere that thought was there. CDS came in 1970,
Much later.
much later, and therefore I was asked to, I have no class to take except Principles of Economics for the Politics Department. No, Economics Department was not started by that time.
This is way back in 1957,
59.
59.
It was around 59. Next year we started the MA.
60 or 60?
60, I believe it is 60 or 60. By the time I was doing this paid work for starting a new course, from what little I knew about syllabus and all that, I tried to help on what should be the main, what should be the subsidiary, that type of a new course we started.
With Professor V.R. Pillai.
V.R. Pillai has by that time joined the department as Professor of Economics. And later on in a year or two of my own teachers who went abroad, Dr. P.G.K. Panikkar and P.T. Matthew, they have joined
In the department.
in department. P.G.K. Panikkar joined Matthew later. So we were able to, that I think it was in 61 or so, we started the course.
In fact, that is a very interesting
new knowledge.
new knowledge for all of us. So, and it is one of the first department in the state. This
In
is the
the
first
state.
economics
First
department. Research department.
Research department.
Yeah. So, master programs are never
Yeah,
offered in
we
university
have the
colleges.
masters.
So, thank you for the information. So, I have a few questions, which is, what is your social background of coming to this kind of
My
studies?
social,
Yeah, social background. A little bit.
A little bit. I come from an extremely religious Christian Orthodox family. So many do's and don't do's governing consideration. Actually, over a period of time, I try to reflect on my religious affiliations. So that itself was a
Learning exercise.
big exercise because you have to encounter so many people. To call yourself anybody who is unacceptable at that time was called a communist.
Okay.
And so, or a reactionary. For some, I was a reactionary. For others, I was.
So where do you locate yourself in that sense?
I was at that time certainly only figuring out things. I was not making up my mind. Even today, my journey is a quest for finding out what is the meaning of life. That is not economics.
Okay, great.
But that quest is continuing. And, but I tried to learn. And that was because
In fact, for all of us, it is a learning experience too, because the way which you still active and writing on, reflecting on different aspects, which even the youngsters are not taking up, is in fact a very, very important lesson for all of us, in my mind. So I think what you are doing is exactly a great thing to the knowledge system.
that is you are pointing me out because certainly a human being is not an economist qua economist. He is governed by multiple factors, and his reflections, his decision-making process are also governed by so many factors. So, in this process, I try to challenge the church. I try to interrogate my own belief. that she was part of that quest for your own self. That enabled me to be honest in things.
In academic, whether it is in
Whether
academic,
it is in academics or in anything. I cannot be a liar in any way.
Perfect.
Even if I lie, I am caught immediately.
Okay, great.
Which I never do that exercise. Because I am spontaneously, I cannot speak of it.
For peripheral things.
That was good for me.
So, for a little bit economics now. Yeah.
You'll drop economics because I am as much disposed to philosophical persuasion.
Over the period, definitely you have a long knowledge accumulation over the long period which you are in the academia as well as in social life.
Yeah.
And it is obvious that you will become philosophical also.
Yeah,
We can expect that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Coming to the problem of economics, and especially, if we are from Kerala, I was a student here. I was also a student outside. So I know the difference between how people perceive on Kerala or people of Kerala and their own. But all this discussion, in fact, triggered because of the simple putting up of Kerala as a model state. So let me start from that particular question itself. So how do we basically perceive or try to locate the Kerala model in a historical perspective, not in the present perspective? So what was actually the kind of...
maybe I would say in 1959 or 1960, I had to write a paper for the Indian Agricultural Economic Conference. So every year, university representative should be sent, and therefore invariably, because there was no other person at that time, I was
few institutions.
I am doing, and I have to write it. And now that by the time John Mathai was no more, and but his directive pursue study on Kerala was a big eye-opener. I started reading the census reports. That itself was a treasure, I should say. It was a treasure. And therefore, I think even the first article that I wrote for the Indian Economic Association was on the economics of cropping pattern. Because the discussion was there whether Kerala should be self-sufficient in food or it should go for commercial crops.
That discussion was initiated at that time.
At the time when I thought of it. And the Agricultural Economics Conference, I wrote a paper on the economics of cropping pattern. In that, at that time, no, all articles will not be taken. The decisions are made by a committee with the next year's president of the association as a choice maker. Then next year I wrote on the agricultural income distribution of Kerala. Then later on I wrote a paper on the role of Kerala and its third 5-year plan. So, but the paper on agricultural economic income distribution, that was the theme of the conference. Indian agricultural income distribution. So I thought of
Kerala.
going into Kerala, but there was no statistics. Evidently, I went to the statistics department, was not there. Not full-fledged, it was just coming there. Some rented building somewhere. West Bengal person, very eminent person, brought by EMS. He was working. In fact, I had discussions with him. Then at that time, I went to the Department of Agriculture, and the taxes, agricultural tax was there, and therefore I got all the information from the unlike present day Kerala. At that time, the annual departmental report is there. Agriculture department produced a report where how much tax is given, what is the rate, and all that. So that was my source. So what little statistics I knew was Gini coefficient, and therefore I tried to work out a Gini coefficient. Whether it was right or not, I worked out something, and I made a graph. And after it was published, I showed it to other people because I was confident of myself. When it was there, I was in the department. And the department and the center was not having that relationship.
It just started as an independent
Thing. I used to go there early.
While Professor Raj was there.
Professor Raj was there. In fact, in 1970, I wrote a book on the land reform and socio-economic change. Raj, I went to Raj and his house. He came from Delhi, he was at that time Chancellor of Delhi University. I went to his house and after telephone, big scientist Chandrasekhar was there in that house. He was ready to go to the airport to see him. So he invited me for tea, we sat. It was a big thing for me at that time. That was a good experience. He wrote the forward. By the way, we have to come back to what
My question.
Kerala. Your basic question is on the Kerala. The Kerala model is there is nothing like it. It has been, there are so many disclaimers, and it is for the first time the word Kerala model is used in a book which I edited. It was used by Malcolm Madison in 1969, 70, 1970,
79.
Sometime 79 or 78 or something. And Robin Jeffrey referred to this book as the first reference of Kerala. He probably might have forgotten in the new book that is coming. He has made some other references, but he himself has made in my book on Kerala economy since independence. That's a book.
That is in 70s. Or the new one.
Not the new one.
The old
Kerala economy may be Kerala economy may be 79, 78. Okay. Some period. So that's it is on record by Jeffrey. Jeffrey himself has
Which one?
I don't know whether he still holds that. Malcolm Adiseshe anyway used
That phrase.
Many people started to talk about a model for mathematicians, it is an exandix.
Replicate.
Conceptualization. There is nothing like that. But Kerala had a fantastic history, fascinating story of Kerala. With Srinarayana, Ayyankar, Chattamswamy, Vakam. So many people used to reflect on the injustices, iniquities and injustices of that time.
Yeah. The deliberations and
Deliberations were there. People were going, and Narayana Guru was going from one place to the other and telling people, look at the caste system. How many gods? One god, one religion, and he's hoisting the Irava, Shiva, the Arvikara.
the mirror
Installation. Tell in unmistakable terms that the society that is much more cruelly untouchable, lived in a regime of untouchability, unseeability, unapproachability, that a certain sections of society cannot wear proper clothes, cannot have a tiled roof, cannot draw water from a well, umpteen iniquities. This questioning is the beginning of rationality among the people of Kerala. I have written so much on this in Malayalam as well as in English. My book, my case is a book of mine in Kerala. That 2 months back I got 50,000 rupees
As
my
royalty.
bank credit for royalty for a Malayalam book. That is a rare thing. That means the book has sold well. And in that book that was a speech I made at the Pinchen Boundary. That speech itself is reproduced there. There even I quoted poem because I used to read good poems. B. Shankaraguru, all the contemporary writers of my younger days, I used to write and read poems and enjoy them. Therefore, I used to quote that when I write. So, coming back to the question, there is no God. It is only an experience of questioning the existing paradigm that you should, what is given is legitimate. So the legitimacy was questioned. So many avant-garde writers I wrote recently.
We normally call it as the mainstream economics view. Like growth is actually led by normally.
No, that is where I challenged the syllabus, challenged the neoclassical things, because I wrote that is, if I go on like that, it will be, I will come back to
this question.
Pin me down to what you said. Very briefly, I will define Kerala model only as a historical trajectory of abundant experience, as a result of which the questioning the legitimacy of the caste system and the class system, that is, which nobody, this thing nobody has pointed out. They will say health parameters are comparatively better, child infant mortality rate is low, life expectancy is higher. Then
I would actually, in fact, I readily accept what you said. This is a lot of experience which is Kerala had. When we spoke about, there is an experience or model or whatever exists.
it became a model or distinguishing salience because it smashed
Everything which was prevented
by the dominant system of thinking in economics. I called it, of course, there is a famous book that is not exactly economics. The title of the book is Equality by R.H. Toney. Equality by R.H. Toney speaks of a tadpole philosophy. I have quoted that extensively in my introduction to the book, 2-volume book on rethinking Kerala. That book, my introduction is certainly pointing out to these things.
Yeah.
But by the mainly people speak about low per capita income and high attainment, social.
In modern economics literature and all, people used to think beyond this typical income as well as other things.
Yeah.
For example, if my own work, like I would like to reflect on, because institutions are very important. There are different kinds of institutions which was very strong in Kerala when you compare with other states. For example, the court. If you have a right problem, we can challenge. Even this was facilitated. For example, if education, for instance, like there is a proclamation. On the basis of the proclamation, there was a lot of agitations of it. So there is like a constitutional kind of thing was existing. This is called institution. If you have something which is concrete, then you argue for it. So in Kerala, we can see that there are similar sort of things were existing. The famous proclamation of the Travancore princely state. That is, they said that education is a right to every citizen. Once they made that, even Ayangali and many people, which was led their agitation, is basically relied on this particular proclamation. They said that see, education is actually
the trigger.
The trigger, and it is the right of everyone. Then why you people, being the citizen or the people in the state, are denied? So you cannot deny us. Even the state cannot actually deny that fact because it's a proclamation. Proclamation means it's a royal edict. So they cannot, forge the royal edict. So they, by their virtue of the fact, by their own institution, people started questioning this kind of thing. So there is a possibility, that edicts often given people possibility and many people worked on, in fact. So the legal institution, for example, there is a lot of challenge. Even the Sri Moolam Sabha, for example, in Travancore, it helped a lot, because there is a Praja Sabha also. So somebody has to come from, the normal lot of population. So they were looking for and they nominated those who are, voicing. So naturally there is a space evolved. That space was actually smashed in the existing system itself. So this has a lot of experience, right, sir?
It is. The institution's character change. The existing institutions are institutions of oppression. Certainly, even today, you cannot easily walk into a temple and worship.
Yes.
spite of all the proclamations and real institutional change that comprehends the caste system, class system, and all prejudices and irrationalities were challenged. That is the real institutional change.
Because there is social movement.
Social reform movements are the bedrock of Kerala model. Therefore, my sum and substance of what I say is social reform movements and education and missionaries making people aware of health. In 1929, Travancore brought people from abroad to start a health department here. There was vaccination introduced in Kerala. Not Kerala, at least in Travancore part of it. All these things are instrumental in the building of Kerala. It is an experience rather, and surely an exemplar in many things. Even today Kerala is an exemplar compliant.
Yeah, I would like to come to that question immediately, because historically, as you rightly pointed, that we have many, what you say, that actually different institution or different system played a very good role to have a new experience. So similarly, now Kerala, if we speak in the present terms, Kerala is having a lot of trouble from external as well as internal. For example, internationally, we are highly dependent migrant workforce across, and also we have an immigrant.
Oh, yeah.
So you have not only an immigrant problem, you have an immigrant issue. So multiple incidents and issues are there within the state, as well as we have challenges, still caste challenges. Then that's entry, as you pointed, you cannot enter into different temples, and still is as well as mosque. Wherever there are religious institutions again act a very dominant role still in Kerala. So at the same time, now we have natural calamities because of global warming. So many issues. That is an international phenomenon or the global phenomenon. So all that is again affecting Kerala, but we managed to sustain little bit. Unlike the other states, we have managed and coming far ahead.
Yeah.
When you compare, this is not in an absolute sense. It is actually relatively we are coming and try to act as actually leading the issues. So how do we understand this past as well? This past as well as the present contribution.
That part of it is that's the real question. In the sense that we have changes that are occurring now is due to the society and the quality. The quality of politics is important. The quality of society also is equally important, in the sense that in spite of our moorings in the past, there is a return to some of the idiosyncrasies of the past. So, public action should be reason-based. It should not be public action based on narrow prejudices and religious fundamentalism or things like that. You can progress only when you question, and question rationally, and establish scientifically things. As from a scientific community, wanting to be progressive And Communist Party has helped a lot in that process. But today, the political process has yielded to rent-seeking politics. The leadership is far away from giving a rational perspective to the society. Where is the fundamental question which Srinarayana Guru asked was rational. Even when Iyengar said, let 10 people become graduates from my community. It was not communalism, it is rationality. It is rationality that is under siege in Kerala. The teachers are not in the vanguard of reason.
They are not inculcating in that sense.
Well, no, not at all. As a humble teacher, I always tried to show that I read, I write, whatever sense or nonsense it may be, and show, look, I don't keep air before my students. I am a big fellow, I am a professor. No. Anybody can come, call me at any time, or call on me at any time. So that is missing. That is a
Absolutely.
very sorry spectacle that you find today.
So again, back to maybe the last question in the Kerala experience. So how, as you said, we have to have rationalized it. So in that context, when we talk about in terms of health, in terms of education, in terms of social institution, as you said, social institution, we have to bring that then in economic analysis, because already there are different economists who worked on social institutions within the economic structure, because that is, then you have gender inequality, all kinds of things has to be brought in. So when we see all this thing, how do we place Kerala's current situation as a, as an economy, as a polity? How do we see? You got the point.
You want me to say first polity or economy?
Economy and then
Economy. Economy of Kerala once upon a time was agriculture based with a predominant cash crop economy, and slowly we industrialized coir and cashew. All these traditional industries were there. Later on we have even modern industries. C.P. Ramasamy with all his wrongs brought certain things. Manorama people, all these I have written on.
Yeah, industries.
Manorama
FSEG,
people,
for example.
C.P. Mathan, of all people, I go back to say that, Travancore, paper mills, of course, then clay factory was originally conceived by C.P. Mathan. Cashew industries were promoted by the banks of C.P. Mathan at Travancore Bank, very famous bank. I have written agriculture needs to be recaptured. Agriculture, paddy you cannot and you should not, because whole economy, its beauty and its resourcefulness rests on the wetland system of Kerala, which is unique, which is profoundly unique in the world. You have an ideal ecosystem. You have a water system, river system, 40 backwaters, then the Western Ghats hilly regions. Then immediately you have your coastal area and the sea. So this is a unique piece of geography in Kerala, certainly. But why have you sabotaged and killed it? I used a phrase at least 30 years back, ecological overkill of Kerala. 35 years back I wrote in a paper. But today look at what is happening. You mercilessly kill the beauty of the endowment that nature has given to you. You have killed that. And you try to say rhetorics and you say and act differently.
So, as in an economic perspective,
we have changed because largely because of the inflow of foreign remittances and the whole style of living changed and construction became, along with service sector, of course, that was once upon a time the building block of Kerala model, so-called Kerala model. But today, it is that service sector are not the flourishing point of the economy. They are artificially commercialized, and the whole spirit of education and health provision, healthcare system has a responsibility, not a tradable commodity. Health is not a tradable commodity. Education is not a tradable commodity. It is being made into tradable commodity. Then you are losing the vision and you are really not progressing the path that was rationally laid down to you earlier. Yes. So, the public action tradition of Kerala is not fostering a public sphere that is really rationality based.
So how this how this public sphere has actually withered in fact? What is your hunch on it? Because over the period, the public sphere, earlier we have a Vayanashala, we have all small spaces where people come and sit together and talk about different things, and that in fact made a lot of change.
Yeah.
There is no doubt about it, because the Vayanashala movement is a very triggering movement as far as the state is concerned. So how this is in fact give way to a new kind of system which you are trying to, what is actually
What was the watershed? What was the change? That is the thing.
Yeah, I am asking that how it has changed from this public
money. The money has really spoiled. Foreign money coming has changed the value system of the state. So a lot of irrationalities are nursed. That politics became a point of power and money. So, election also became a very, very lucrative business. If you become an MLA, if you become an MP, it's a lucrative business. And around that, you build so many pockets and pockets of clienteling, patronage type of society. And so that has completely changed the traditional ethos on which the society was once upon a time built.
So, but at the same time, the traditional society was also flawed, as we
Ah.
started saying.
I know.
Then what kind of value system we have to, for a future, what we have to actually, aspire for. As you rightly pointed that there is a rationality should be inculcated.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what kind of way ahead when we speak about a present situation to a future, especially crisis-ridden situation.
Crisis, really crisis. We are not taking directly into or getting directly into the politics and vitiate at the discussion.
Right.
Because then I become partisan. Because you have to be partisan to explain the irrational
Behavior.
transformation that is taking place in this. So I don't want to bring that. The real point is that education has aided in fact. That I have said, that was your greatest endowment was your education. But look at the way colleges are multiplied. The most irrational, irresponsible way colleges are built. When I tried to have a new system of syllabus, I challenged the neoclassical system my own way. I wrote a paper as far back as 1976 and gave it to K.N. Raj to read. I gave it to John Robinson to read. Dudley Sears to read. They all appreciated it. K.N. Raj was very much for that. He wanted a discussion on that in the CDS which has just started. Then my good teacher P.G.K. Panikkar said, I will give you a space next month. It never came.
Okay. That's how it is actually.
Actually, that type of, where is the torch? Only the teachers can provide the torch and the beacon for the next generation. That's where we have.
So that
And people are groomed as SFI leader, Congress leader, as Kerala Congress leader, ABVP leader.
Not academic.
Not at all academic leadership. And then you killed the society in that process. That is the big message that
we have to.
we have to address.
But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have this because being in a polity, you cannot actually separate yourself from politics in that sense.
No,
But
I am
that-
not
yeah.
against politics. I am
Exactly.
for quality politics.
Exactly. Okay.
No,
the point
not
is
at
that
all. I am for politics because I have argued the way Thomas Piketty, all my epistemological pieces or articles on epistemology of economics.
Yeah. We had a discussion also on our Kerala. Alternative.
Alternative. From there I have written so many articles on the whole system. So the issue is that the society is also very fragmented. Highly fragmented on self-interest, narrow selfish interest. The society that is so much fragmented like that cannot have a holistic personality.
So we have to actually build that. Then only we can have a sort of future which is very.
That building process teaches. You and I have a responsibility. Teachers have a responsibility. That's why I said
Education systems. So what about this health system in Kerala?
Health
Because
system.
these two things are often comes into the foray when we speak about Kerala, etc. So we
Health.
can,
The health system today, I have written a series on the health system of Kerala in Malayalam. It is well documented. It's not just an article in Martin.
Yeah.
The health system was a well-meaning health system. മലയാളം നോവൽ തലമുറകൾ വിജയൻ, he speaks of a character. എന്താണ് എന്താണ് ഈ യേശുവിൻ്റെ ആളിൻ്റെ കൂടെ ആളുകൾ പോകുന്നത്? നിങ്ങളുടെ മരുന്ന് വാങ്ങിക്കാൻ ആൾ വരുന്നില്ലല്ലോ. അപ്പോൾ അതിൽ പറയുന്ന ഒരു ക്യാരക്ടർ പറയുന്നു, ഞാൻ ഓർക്കുന്നില്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇതാണ് ഒരു ക്യാരക്ടർ പറയുന്നത്, നിങ്ങൾ പാവപ്പെട്ടവന് പിന്നെ താഴ്ന്ന ജാതിക്കാരനെന്ന് വിളിച്ച് അവന് മരുന്ന് കൊടുക്കുന്നത് ഇലയിൽ കൊണ്ട് ദൂരെ, അവനെ തൊട്ടല്ല. യേശുക്രിസ്തുവിൻ്റെ ആളുകൾ അവിടെ വരുമ്പോൾ ഇപ്പോൾ വരുന്ന മാറ്റങ്ങളിൽ തൊട്ടാണ്.
You have to feel.
You have to feel.
Perfect message.
You have that change, transformation of society. Untouchability is a curse. Today also people harbor that in the heart of hearts.
Still back of their mind this sort of
that
thing.
is there. Your healthcare system is now, the danger of the healthcare system now is it is highly commercialized. That is why in my long perambulations or whatever it is with you, very interesting indeed, is that you forget that health is not a tradable commodity. Health is not a good, it's a public good service that every citizen's health is entitled. It's a human right. You take it as a human right. Health is a human right.
But in the
Kerala upheld that.
Yeah.
But today,
But in the current globalized, privatized environment, which was actually, imposed on us, in fact, all that imposition makes both the commodity, whether it is education or health, being private. So they are arguing for you should privatize, you should, commodify it, etc. Though there are institutions which is against this, but they were being actually treated as or painted as like reaction and regressive social outfit, etc. So how do we basically negotiate with this sort of like global versus a local or a
no, the local is very much influenced by the global. And that is why education is commercialized. When health is commercialized, it is a retrograde step. There was a famous Alma-Ata Declaration. I wrote recently on that. I am continuing to write on. I reread it recently. Alma-Ata Declaration. So that is, health is part of a transformative change in the economy, in the shelter, provision of food, education. So health is not a tablet. It is part of a comprehensive entity. Holistic approach is what is needed. That is what Alma-Ata Declaration proceeded. And that was hijacked by the pharmaceutical companies and insurance companies of America. And so the real villain of the piece is the capitalists who wanted to take and commercialize the health of the people.
They were successful also.
They were successful.
Very successful.
And it continues to be successful.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
everything.
Trump will not allow the citizens of America to die like this. They are afraid to go to the hospital because of its cost. Only rich people survive.
Poor perish.
Perish.
Yeah.
Poor perish.
So this is a very interesting message. Then at the same again. As a critique of Kerala, there are many people wrote about Kerala, criticizing different actors, especially Kerala, the so-called Kerala model never talked about. Whether you talk about in terms of education or health or any other indices, the sections like marginalized sections like the tribal communities, the coastal communities, they were all being treated as outliers.
Yeah.
And John Kurian and all,
yeah.
there are many people who reflected on it. So how do we basically understand even today these outliers within the development paradigm of the Kerala? So there are many people still, the fisher folks, the tribes, after 40 years of our what is called decentralized, not decentralized, sorry, our plan, that is tribal sub-plan, TSP, still tribes are actually having a very sorry state. So same the case with the fishing community. So how do we see this contradiction?
That contradiction is certainly because of your indifference towards those. You can afford, they are voiceless. They remain voiceless. They are not critical factors in the transformation of the society. High caste people, you look at the way the Attapadi people are treated. Look at what is transformed in the tribal systems and among the fisher folk of Kerala. They are really corrupt bureaucracy has taken away whatever allocation is made. You make an allocation for the poor people so that the bureaucrats hijack it for their own way. Who takes them to part? Who really handhold them?
So you think that actually, not think, from your experience you feel that they were all left out by the ruling class in fact.
See, the central tendency is what I am saying.
Okay.
I have my good friend Kunyaman, so many people who come from tribal community. You should not project them and say that here we have gone ahead. No. The central tendency, what is the basic theme? What the transformative process is still in its rudimentary stage in the fisher folk community as well as
So it is not inclusive in that sense.
inclusive at all. Democracy means, or if it means inclusive, nobody should be left out or kept out.
Here there is both the process.
Both
right?
the process.
Yeah.
So,
Correct.
both the process is there, very meticulously done in the with the rhetoric that we are for the poor, and the communist people, their insincerity. I am a supporter of, always supporter of leftist. I remain like this only because I support it. If only I am with Anthony was my friend. Oommen Chandy's first budget I made, he made no change. He read the whole thing and became a good finance minister. But I could be anything, but I said, I don't want to be part of your system because you will not help me to transform. So I want to remain with the left knee.
The transformation process is actually even left in that sense.
Left has given up their ideal for a change the society. It's not Marxism anyway. So don't say such funny things. Here, are you helping the poor? who deserve help and ameliorate them. Oh, you keep them, perpetuate them in their poverty and build on their...
Basically impoverishing them.
Impoverishing them and build your logic on the basis of helping them.
But as you said, the right never actually bother about these things.
No.
So they...
I am not... I am not... No, why? People, all my relatives and other people and the priests whom I know, all these people will tell me, look at the right. The right has no vision. They do not want to transform the society.
Like traditionally.
They go on. In the meantime, make the best of the bad bargain.
Okay. That's a good. So, when you say about allocation of resources, so the state is having a severe crunch of resources, past as well as current. You know? When KK George was written in 90s, we had a not very good sound financial structure. When we speak today, even in the midst of the GST discussion, still we don't have a very good sound finance as we all aspire or expect. So how do we basically address this sort of a problem? Address that to the surface.
I have used a phrase which some people used it in an interview like this. That was published in phrases. Kerala is like a beggar sitting on a bench of gold.
Okay.
Really, Kerala's wealth is immense. Thanks to the Gulf remittances and foreign remittances. Other sources. But we have not made the best use of your resources. And so,
we have yet to think about how do we do it.
Right. Yet you are groping in the dark.
Right. Especially it is very relevant in a context of changing tax structure, changing legislation, etc. So
it is going to be much more because today you meet with a central government that is so much taking back. When your GST is taking the tax handles of the states in toto into their hands, and now they had the cheek to tell the states, you borrow. Once you promised that you will compensate for the loss of GST the first 5 years, now when they approached on the pretext of Corona, they say that you borrow.
Then how do we sustain?
That is a breach of trust. Federation can succeed only trust building of trust.
When you speak about federation, federal, you have wrote a lot of article about federalism, decentralization. How do we see in a context where we are having a geopoliticizing tendency from the center to have a good federal relationship? So how?
No, you are getting. That is where you have to show your moral might. Don't get into. If you have the moral might to challenge the sender, you will be able to challenge. But they should not come and tell you that you are corrupt, you are doing this, you have no vision. Only that we are doing something for the poor farmer, where they are actually betraying the poor. So there is a moral
should be there. from this part of the state.
From the part of the state. The leadership has not, it's not fighting for the sake of fighting. It is fighting with a tenacity to get something done.
So I think you're tired.
I am.
So
I was talking.
yeah, of course you are. So we are so happy, and thank you for watching the program. And we will continue the same series in different topics. Thank you.